Why did my daughter freeze when I said I lived in a garage? Why did her wine glass fall before the truth even sank in? The candles flickered softly, 65 of them, their tiny flames dancing above a cake I hadn't baked. Sitting in a place I never called home, Blaine, my son, polished, wealthy, wrapped in a designer suit, looked across the table we'd set up between storage bins and oil-stained boxes. His smile was proud, wide, and naive. "Mom, are you enjoying the apartment I got for you?" he asked, his voice thick with satisfaction. I nodded gently, eyes scanning the walls of this so-called apartment. A garage still lined with tools and paint cans. How do you smile at someone who unknowingly left you in the shadows? How do you say thank you when you've been living in a lie for 3 years? I swallowed hard and whispered, "Son." "I live in the garage." The room stilled. Why did my millionaire son look more confused than surprised? And why did my daughter look like she already knew? Celine's glass slipped from her fingers. Red wine exploded across the concrete like blood. She didn't flinch. Her frozen face wasn't from shock, it was guilt. That one flicker in her Botox, smooth face, that half-second of darting eyes, it confirmed what my heart had feared for years. This wasn't a mistake. She had known. Blaine blinked, trying to piece it together. "No, this is the apartment." The realtor said it was converted. I pointed to the oil stains on the floor, to the rusty water heater in the corner, to the tapestry covering, a real garage door. "Look again, son. Really, look." He looked, and he saw. His confident smile vanished. "But I've been paying bills, heating, maintenance." I nodded, heart tight. "Those are for the main house, Blaine. This place barely stays warm with that little heater in the corner." He fell silent. Why did he never visit me inside? Why did he trust everything Celine said? Was I so invisible that even my misery went unnoticed? Celine finally stood up. Brushing off her dress, "She's fine. She never complained." I stared at her. "Of course I didn't. You two were proud. You gave me this, and I thought this was all I deserved." The silence between us was louder than the crash of glass. Blaine looked like he was falling down a hole he didn't know existed. And Celine, she looked like she was already planning her next move. What else had she hidden from him? How far did this betrayal go? And how long had I let it happen just to keep the illusion of family intact? The cake sat untouched. Candles burned out one by one. And somewhere in the corner, the shadows whispered, "This wasn't a birthday. It was the beginning of the truth." Why did I stay quiet for so long? What kind of mother accepts silence as love? I stood there, surrounded by the cold truth of my own acceptance. The garage hadn't changed in 3 years. Same rusted toolbox, same cracked floor, same broken heater humming like a dying insect. But something inside me had cracked tonight. Blaine's confusion was turning into shame. And Celine's icy calm had started to sweat. Blaine paced slowly, his polished shoes clicking against the concrete. But the realtor? The listing said it was a garage apartment. It had a kitchen, heating, insulation. I pointed again. "This is a hot plate, not a kitchen. That's a garage door, not a wall. And this rug." I nudged it with my foot. "Yard sale. Because my pension goes to groceries." He stopped. He was listening now. How could my son not see what was right in front of him? How did his own sister fool him for 3 years straight? Celine's voice sliced through the thick silence. She never complained, not once. I checked on her, Blaine, weekly. She said she was fine. "No," I whispered, my voice steadier now. "You didn't check on me? You managed me. Like a number. Like a liability." Blaine looked at me, something crumbling behind his eyes. "I don't understand. Why didn't you tell me?" I wanted to scream. I wanted to cry. But all I said was, "Because I didn't want to disappoint you. I had raised 2 children. One gave me silence wrapped in a mansion. The other gave me sweet lies and a place to decay in peace. I remembered those early days here when I first moved in, grateful to be anywhere. Celine had smiled so kindly, told me to make it cozy. She gave me a single set of keys, garage keys, said the main house wasn't ready. And then months passed, then years, no questions. Just wine and visits and distant texts. Why did I teach my children that my pain was acceptable? Why did I allow their comfort to come at the cost of my dignity? Blaine suddenly turned to Celine. You told me the main house was empty, that it was being cleaned. She smiled too quickly. It was, then it wasn't. I just needed time. Didn't think it mattered. Mattered, Blaine snapped. It mattered the moment Mom spent her birthday lighting candles next to a toolbox. Her face fell, just a flicker, and I saw it again. That fear. Not guilt, fear. Not of hurting me, but of losing control. What else was she hiding? What did she'll fear I'd uncover next? My silence had protected them long enough, but now it was their turn to explain, and this time I was ready to listen. What if the betrayal went deeper than I imagined? What if this wasn't just about a garage, but about erasing me? Blaine sat on the edge of the cold cot, his hands in his hair, his mind spinning. I could see it, the unraveling the years. He thought were truth now turning into a twisted lie. And Celine. She stood frozen near the shattered wine glass, her mask cracking, her charm now useless. I need answers, Blaine said quietly. You deserve them, I replied. And I told them about the late night noises, Celine sneaking out the main house door, the expensive packages she carried in, the strange phone calls she took when she thought I was asleep. I told him how I once tried to call him, only to have Celine return the call and say he was too busy again. But how long had she planned this? And why would a daughter do this to her own mother? Then I showed him the envelope. This was from Marcus, Celine's ex-husband, delivered weeks ago. Inside were documents, real estate transfers, account redirections, and the worst of all, power of attorney draft with my forged signature. She wasn't just lying. She was preparing to take everything. She wanted control over my health, my finances, even my memory. Blaine's face drained of color. She was going to declare you incompetent. I nodded, my throat dry. Yes, I was going to disappear legally while she lived in my house. What happens when silence becomes a weapon? What happens when love is turned into leverage? That night didn't end with cake. It ended with evidence. Blaine left with the documents. And in less than 48 hours, Celine was served with a legal notice. Financial elder abuse. Identity theft. Fraud. The list went on. She cried then. Not out of guilt, but fear. Fear of losing everything she'd stolen. But it was too late. Justice doesn't always come with sirens. Sometimes it comes in silence and signatures. Celine pled guilty. Her sentence. 3 years prison. My sentence. Freedom. Now I live in the house that was always meant for me. I joined a book club, enrolled in a gardening course, and started mentoring young women at the community center. I even reconnected with Sarah Blaine's wife, who's pregnant with my grandchild, and Emma Celine's daughter. I write her letters every week. I won't let my silence steal another generation's voice. But the real question is, what do we teach our children when we show them that love has limits? What legacy do we leave when we stay quiet for too long? I've learned this. Silence protects no one. It only shelters lies. And I refuse to live inside lies anymore. If this story touched your heart, comment the city you're watching from. Let me see how far truth can travel. Subscribe for more powerful real stories that the world needs to hear. And remember, speak up. Even if your voice shakes.